Hi, Trudy. Thanks
Hi, Karen.
for taking the time today to have this conversation with me. We're really excited at the SATAA to be starting the series of interviews with people who are using TA. I think it's going to be a way of making it come alive for people, bring it off the pages of a book and what does it really do in people's lives and work. So tell us a little bit about you and the work you do to set the scene.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Karen. I'm really excited to be a part of this, so thank you for the offer. So a little bit about me. So I have the gift of being the owner and CEO of a small boutique leadership consulting business called SATAA, and we really focus on empowering leaders to lead with more authenticity, focus on humanity and constructive influence. So I guess you could say I'm just a woman who's humbly learning the lessons that being a leader offers me, and at the same time seeking novel ways to find how we can empower leaders to lead with more authenticity, humanity, and constructive influence.
So how did TA come into the picture in your work?
So TA is a theory that I was introduced to about 8 years ago through the work that we're doing. So part of the primary thing that we're looking at doing with leaders and getting them to think about how they lead differently is the principle of waking up. And so TA is one of those theories that we've been using in the line of work that we do. And so I've been working with it in the last 8 years.
And what was it that impacted you about TA that made you stay with it, learn more about it, deepen it?
So TA for me is a very powerful theory. Whenever I reach that point of TA in the facilitation process, I usually prefix it with it. This is going to rock your world. This is a key that's going to unlock your potential. Because, we'll talk a bit about that, but in my own world, and I see it happening in clients' worlds every day, of the power of it to unlock our potential. And I guess it talks nicely to a principle that I believe in. So I believe that the way that we engage with the world is merely a window into what's going on inside of us. And so the power of our thoughts and that internal narrative that we have in terms of how we engage with ourselves and how we relate to ourselves, others in the world around us, starts within. I often talk about how we wake up in the mornings, we step out of bed and we step into sleep, and we get stuck in those habits and those automatic thoughts that we have that create habits for us. Socrates says the unexamined life is not worth living. Well, I believe that if we don't take the time to nurture a relationship with our internal narrative and our internal dialogue, then we're likely to create a very noisy world that's unnecessary for ourselves and those around us. And so the appeal of TA is it's a very simple yet powerful theory that offers a gateway into developing and nurturing a relationship with our internal world and our internal landscape, so that we can start to mindfully and consciously develop a healthier landscape within, so that we're engaged in a healthier way outside of us.
Sure. And what changed in you personally in your journey with TA?
Yeah, well, I guess simply you could say it was the tool that helped me to step into my personal power and realize that I wasn't merely the puppet of the world around me, and I could become the puppeteer. And so simply and how did it do that? Well, it empowered me in the realization that our lens on the world lies in our mind, not in our eyes. And so at its essence, and in our essence, we can either be our captor or our liberator. And so waking up to that really helped me to step into my own personal sovereignty and my own personal power.
Great. People talk about using TA, and for people who don't know what goes on when we use TA, give us a bit of a sense of how do you use it with your leaders that you work with?
So we use it as a tool to act as a catalyst to get leaders thinking. So thinking about how do the ego states relate to the automatic mind? How do we start to have automatic thoughts that come from our ego states? The power of our thoughts and our beliefs in shaping our narrative. We look at things around how, instead of priming ourselves to get into a space of fighting, flighting, or fixing, how do we rather, in a mindful way, allow ourselves to, one, become aware of what's going on, two, acknowledge it and allow it, and then allow ourselves to inquire with that space curiously before engaging in action. And sometimes what we find is we don't even need to engage in action, because when we turn into and we lean into the space that's before us, it dissipates. So sometimes it might be an action, and sometimes it might not be. But that is really coming through from allowing yourself to be with it as opposed to react to it.
Mm. And when you say that, I'm thinking of the integrating adult space, just being present in the here and now, choosing responses, not reacting. And I know
Exactly.
you're immersed in mindfulness as well. So say a little bit about how the two link in your experience.
Oh gosh, I guess for me those are the two biggest gifts I've received, is the understanding of mindfulness and the understanding of TA. For me, they're a match made in heaven. So mindfulness is for me a way of life, and it's a sense of a way of being. Mindfulness, I guess the simple way for me to understand it is, and to explain it, is mindfulness creates that space to still the mind. And TA allows you a gateway into understanding the mind. Mm. And so the two kind of really work in harmony. And mindfulness is a really good way of helping you to develop less reactivity and being more responsive, and working with the inquiry in terms of the TA process of what's going on here. Is this the story I've told myself, or is this the reality of what's going on in this situation? And so the two really work beautifully together. And what we do a lot in terms of that space is helping leaders to quieten the mind, to allow space, to allow yourself to then nurture a healthier relationship with your inner landscape.
Mm. That's a beautiful phrase, to nurture a healthy relationship with one's inner landscape. Mm. So how does this get received by your leaders and the clients? What sort of things do they say about the experience?
Well, I guess for me, the thing that makes me happy is to see them stepping into their own personal sovereignty and realizing that the power lies within them, in terms of that internal locus of control, that we can start to step up and show up in the world, as opposed to feeling like we're kind of just a cork floating around in the ocean, kind of being taken a trigger to all of our, reacting as a trigger, all our triggers, as opposed to mindfully engaging with our triggers. So for them, it's really a sense of developing a stronger sense of an internal locus of control. There's a sense of being more accountable in terms of what they're able to do, and where they can step into that accountability, and a freedom. There's a very common sense that in life, if it's to be, it's up to me. And my past doesn't determine my future. My past has just got me to where I am today. And if I meet myself in the moment today, I can become the author of my future. And that's really powerful, because it's not just my future, but when we're leading, it's also how we're impacting on the future of others. And so today is the moment where tomorrow begins.
Sure. And such an important task, empowering leaders in where we are today in our country, I'm thinking.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, more and more, if we had leaders that were awake, it's really very powerful, because I often say in that space that in any given moment, life is a dance of moments of awareness and unawareness. And the moment that we become aware that we're unaware, we're awake. And in there lies power to shape the future. There's a beautiful saying that Viktor Frankl uses, that I often think about when clients talk to me about what they learn from it, is that he talks about, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our freedom and our growth. And it's so true in terms of the feedback we receive from leaders, is realizing that ability to step into our freedom and our growth in the responses we have.
Wow, I think that's such a powerful thought to end our conversation with. So Thank you, Trudy. I really enjoyed engaging with you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay.